educator and instructor in her own right, is here instead. So over to Oriana for the opening 10 minutes.
Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. So we'll just get right into it. Just getting the body ready, coming into the breath, just open ourselves to receive for the great classes that are lined up this afternoon. So first things first, in order to receive, make ourselves a vessel, we need to make sure the body is comfortable. So get comfortable where you are, comfortable wherever it may be. Okay, and let's come into the body. So at first, just becoming aware of your body on the chair, on the bed, on the floor, wherever you may be. Just bringing presence, bringing some awareness. Becoming aware of your spine, of your back as you inhale. Feel your spine lengthening, growing tall. And as you exhale, feel yourself settling into that shape. Again, let's take a nice deep inhale, lengthening into the spine. This time we're going to draw our shoulders up to our ears. And then exhale out through the mouth, lower your shoulders down. Good. And again, inhale, shoulders to ears. Exhale, lower them down. Again, you can even let out a nice sigh. Just do some releasing here. Breathe in, lengthen, and exhale, release. And we'll do one more of those. Inhale, and really scrunch it up, exaggerate. Good. And then exhale, let your shoulders go lower than they've been for a long time. Okay, take another inhale and then turn your head over towards the right, looking over your shoulder. And then taking the right hand, just give a gentle pat to the shoulder. Okay, just giving yourself a little hand of reassurance you may not be able to get from someone else right now, so we need to be there for ourselves more than ever. And then keeping that hand on the shoulder, let your head come down, chin to chest, very slowly. Bringing your chin to the center of your chest, drawing a quarter circle. Just keep your head there for a breath or two. Great, and then send the head back, ear lines up with shoulder. Take a little breath here, inhale. And side exhale. Good, coming up to the other side, releasing the hand. In breath, nice straight spine. Exhale, turn your head over towards the left. Gently pressing down into the right shoulder. And then taking the left hand, placing a reassuring hand onto your shoulder. You might even want to give yourself a little squeeze, a little massage here. Why not? You deserve it. And then letting the head come down. Chin to the chest. Take a nice slow quarter circle. Okay, ironing out any tension in the neck, upper body. And then with the head forward, just take a breath or two here. And then slowly send it back up. And then bringing the head back up. And just close your eyes, let your hands be comfortable on your lap, on your knees. So we take a little personal inventory. Just checking in with ourselves. How am I doing? How am I feeling? And then just like to do a brief breathing exercise with you. So I'm going to do some alternate nostril breathing to help balance the right and left hemispheres of the brain. So you can take, for a simple version, take your thumb and your index finger, or any yoginis out there, more advanced version, you can bring your middle finger to your third eye, place of Bina. Okay, so we're going to bring the thumb to the right nostril, index finger to the left hand nostril, and then your middle finger to your third eye, or just relax it down. Okay, so close off your left side as we breathe in through the right side for the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hold the breath inside. Now close off the right with the thumb. Exhale out your left nostril for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Take a pause. Breathe in through your left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Close off left. Open up right. Exhale right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Take a pause. Do one more each side. Inhale, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can do this on your own anytime you need balancing, calming. Open up the left, close off right. Exhale, left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Final one. Inhale, left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Close off left, open right. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Take an in-breath through both nostrils. Give a little smile. Sigh out. Notice how you feel. Okay, and just for the last 2 minutes or so, just taking a little inventory. Now we're cleaning for Pesach, cleaning our homes. Just want to do a little internal spring clean. So just with your eyes closed, identifying a tight area you may have in your body. Okay, there might be a few, but just whichever one's calling out to you most, just identifying that tight place. And first, just bring some air into it, bring some spirit, connect your neshama through the breath. And your neshama is connected to Hashem, so when we breathe into those tight places, we bring Hashem into them. And just to be with those tight places, those tense places, those are the chametz within us. Those are the places that want to be cleared out. And they're not bad. They're there to teach us something. So instead of running away, let's embrace them. And just notice as you focus on that part of your body, what comes up for you, whether what feeling, emotion, maybe it's a color, sensation, and just to be with it. Again, it's a friend and a messenger. It has something for you. And I don't know if we have time to really play this exercise up, but I'd just like to give it over for you. Maybe you can do it on your own. To just really be with whatever feeling, sensation is coming up in the body. To unpack it. And then say thank you, because it served a purpose. And when you're ready, you can just take an imaginary broom and sweep it away. Say thank you for coming. And it's good now with so much going on and so many changes to maybe do one of these meditations focusing on fear or anxiety, however the chametz within you might be presenting itself. Just spend some time with it. And when it's ready, just let that cookie crumble and sweep it away. Wishing you a great afternoon and a wonderful Pesach. Thank you, Jamie.
Okay, hi. I'm not sure whether or not Jamie wanted to say anything, but he's not coming up, so I guess I'll just start. Okay, I thought that was beautiful. I don't actually even know your name, but whoever you are, beautiful. I joined a bit late, so I'm not aware of who that was who was just speaking, but I really enjoyed that. Okay, so in terms of what we're going to do, is not going to be that far away from what you just heard. Mrs. Dover, oh, that's who that was. Okay, that makes sense because you talk alike and you sound alike, so it makes sense that you're married. Okay, that definitely makes sense. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit still, again, about this demystifying anxiety. And what we're going to talk about today is how to calm your mind down. Now, you've just been treated to 10 minutes of a very real and palpable example of how to calm your mind down. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit before, okay, why that works, why that helps to calm your mind down, to breathe deeply, and that self-talk of that you're okay, kind of to reassure you, okay? And it really does work. It really helps. I would almost, you'd have to really be fighting it in order to not be affected by those kind of exercises in terms of, you know, calming your mind down. But the way really that anxiety works is as follows. Okay, anxiety is as Mrs. Robertson Cohen, sorry, thank you, said, it's a gift. Okay, it's just there to tell you something. Okay, anxiety is there to tell you that you are perceiving a threat. That's what's happening. You perceive that something is scary, something is dangerous, something is threatening. Now, sometimes you need to do something about that, right? Like as we were saying last time, you need to move away from the cliff. You need to move away from the edge of the bed. You need to move away from whatever it is that's threatening you, a dog, a virus, right? You need to move away from it in order to keep safe. That's fine. Other times though, again, your mind starts to play up and you see things that are threatening that really shouldn't really be seen as threatening, i.e. everyday life, or going on a lift or going on a tube, things that will prevent you from actually functioning in a helpful way, and for living in a way that you want to be living and experiencing life in the way you want to be experiencing life, and it will get in the way of that. Okay, so again, it's just too much, as we've been discussing, it's just too much of perceiving threats and kind of a lot of thinking going on at the same time. Now, what's fascinating about anxiety is that it engages like all of your thoughts and your feelings, right? Thoughts create feelings. All of your thoughts and feelings do this fascinating thing where they create your reality, but part of the way that they create your reality, okay, you see the world through the prism of your own thinking, but part of the way that they engage you so much is by engaging your body as well. Okay, by employing your body to reinforce what it is that it's telling you. Okay, so if your mind is saying, by the way, this is very, very scary what's going on right now, very, very frightening and scary, your body will feel it, right? Okay, is anxiety always tied to thoughts? Okay, I'll try to answer this after. Sometimes it feels like just a sensation. So it's interesting. Let me just finish and then I'll talk about it in a second. You know, actually, let me just answer it now to get it to say. So every feeling is connected to a thought. You cannot have a thought without having, you cannot have a feeling without having a thought, and you cannot have a thought without having a feeling. Now, most of our thoughts, we don't really have much feeling to them. You know, what color shirt somebody's wearing particularly, we have a thought about that. It doesn't come with much feeling. If that color means something to us, then it does come with a lot of feeling. If it isn't much of a thought, it doesn't have much of a feeling, but every thought has a feeling. So thoughts that are quite big have big feelings. And sensations, sometimes what's really fascinating about anxiety is that sometimes, certainly what happens to me, is that I will have the feeling without even remembering what the thought is. The feeling will last for a little bit longer than the thoughts. Okay, so sometimes I'll be driving in my car and I'll sometimes be feeling this just uncomfortable feeling, thinking, what was I thinking about before that created that experience for me? I don't even remember. Sometimes I'm able to kind of go back and be like, oh yeah, I was thinking about what I might not be able to do. Oh yeah, and then it created something in my mind. But it also creates something in my body. Okay, your body joins the party as well, because your mind and your body are very interconnected. And more than anything, your body tells you where you're at in your mind. And if you can change what your body is experiencing, then it will often, oh no, sorry, my husband's calling me from the kosher shop. Okay, anxiety, here we go. Yeah, hopefully he'll hold on and he'll figure out what to do. So but what your body does is your body really keeps it going, okay? It's telling you how you're doing. Okay, so what it does is, so with anxiety, when you perceive a threat, so your pulse starts getting faster, your blood pressure goes up, you start to sweat, you get actually more energy in your limbs, so that if you needed to run somewhere, you'd be able to run somewhere. Your body starts to kind of heat up a little bit, right, and quicken up. That's what happens when you have anxiety. Your body gets in the party. And sometimes you feel tight in your chest, and sometimes your head is banging, and different people have different experiences. Some people feel it in their stomach, but everyone feels anxiety, okay? And then often what happens at that point is that your behavior will say to you, well, your body and your mind together will then indicate and drive or underpin what you're going to do next. So your behavior will probably, okay, either be run away or do something that will help you. Okay. Now, often what happens is what people do is they avoid the cause of anxiety. So if, let's say, somebody gets worried about going in a lift or going on a tube, so they think, oh, I can't go in tube is an English way, a British way of saying subway. So I can't go in a train. I can't go in a subway because it goes under those tunnels. That feels bad. That feels like a threat. I don't like that. It's scary. That we might get trapped. I might not be able to escape. I feel it in my body. I feel this sweat. I feel this racing of my pulse, which really serves to show me that this is a problem. Look how much of a problem this is, okay? Even my body knows how much of a problem this is. And then what I'm probably gonna do is make sure I don't go on a tube, or I don't go in a lift, an elevator, okay? I don't go in those things because those are scary things and I'm gonna avoid them. And by avoiding them, what does that do? That reinforces my thinking, right? It says to me, see, you need to avoid that because it's really actually very scary, okay? That's the cool thing that your body does and your mind does, and it gets all involved in this whole process of convincing yourself that this is a real problem that you're having. But it's not a comfortable thing to do. It feels really, really uncomfortable, and most people do want to get control of their mind again, and they say, well, somehow this is a problem. I don't know why I'm experiencing this, but I can't seem to go, and I can't seem to do what I want to do. I can't go the places I want to go. I can't do what I want to do. I can't feel how I want to feel. How do I help? So a lot of what helps with that is somehow getting involved in that cycle. Okay, so the thoughts, feelings, bodily feelings, behavior cycle, right, which keeps going and going because it kind of, my mind and my body and my behavior are all telling me the same thing. This is a real problem that I'm having, right? All creates to serve this picture. But if I can get into one aspect of that, okay, and what we did just before is we got into the bodily sensation, right? We got into that, just slow it down, slow down your breathing. Okay, you can enter in any one of those parts of the cycle and affect this cycle. So you can start at the body part, right? Which is actually probably the easiest part to start with. And it's the most kind of natural thing to do. Just slow down your breathing. Enjoy the experience, right? Enjoy being in that moment. And what that does for you is it kind of tells your mind, right? So it goes to the cycle. Look, I'm doing okay. Look how well I'm doing. I'm breathing really slowly. My body seems to be doing really well, which then tells your mind, you know what, I think we're actually doing okay. We're not doing as badly as I think we thought we were doing. We're actually doing okay. And then your feelings start to feel like, oh, okay, yeah, we're okay. And then your behavior starts to, again, also reflect that. Say, you know what, I think we're okay. We're doing okay. That's one way to start. The other ways to start it is to kind of change your behavior, right? Or look at your behavior and say, well, maybe I'm gonna do a tiny bit of something, right? To try to change this. The other way of doing it is clearly to look at your thinking, right? And say, and challenge your thinking. Is it for sure the scariest thing to do? Am I definitely gonna get trapped? Is that always going to happen? Has it ever happened that somebody hasn't gotten trapped, right? Is this, whatever anxiety I'm feeling, is it definitely true? It's a great thing to be able to have what somebody recently said to me, which was brilliant. A woman who's experienced anxiety all her life, and she suddenly turned to me and she said to me, I think what you're trying to say to me is that either anxiety can be my master or my thinking can be my, I don't think she used the word slaves or servants, but can work for me, right? And that's the difference. If you can kind of look at anxiety, and that's why we're trying to demystify it, just know what it is, know what's happening, know what's being created here. Because most of the time people feel like anxiety rules them. But if you can look at it and say, well, I can actually impact this at any point. I can actually make a difference to myself through all kinds of different entry points. And I can actually make thinking something that I engage with, as opposed to something that totally holds my head under the proverbial water. Okay, I think that's it for today. Have a great day. Enjoy yourselves and see you on Tuesday, I believe, if I can keep my schedule straight. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Shani. Thank you so much. Okay, hi everyone. How you guys all doing?
Doing well.
I have a few videos on. It's always nice if people put their video on, but I don't mind if people don't want to. It is Sunday morning, so maybe it's an attack of pajama fever or something. So like this. We're doing a little meditation, stretching out our bodies, learning from Shani about just this idea of crazy idea, really, coming from where I come from in England. Maybe people feel similar like where they come from the States or from Canada or from South Africa. Just this idea that your mind controls your reality. The reality doesn't happen to you as much as you happen to. You could have a role in creating your own reality and how to interact with things. It's a very freeing idea, very powerful idea. And I think one of the things that I really want to try and communicate today was just the idea that to me was such a formative concept when I first came to an understanding of it. And that is that life doesn't happen to you the way that Shani is explaining it, yeah. But philosophically, life doesn't happen to you either. In other words, the world is only the way that it is because that's the way that we've made the world. The world doesn't have to be the way that it is. It just doesn't have to be the way that it is. There's many, many variations, ways that the world could look. And in a funny sort of way, I feel we've come to a bit of a realization of this over the last few weeks, that we've been sitting in this kind of crazy situation. It's just like, well, could work all be remote? Or what would happen if we didn't get out for a year? Or how do I date? The world can be really different than we think, and we can still function and we can still be okay. And what I've been trying to share up until now, is that there's a part of us that there's like a deeper part of us. It's the part of us that embraces effort over comfort. It's the part of us that seeks depth over superficiality. It's the part of us that seeks meaning over the mundane. And every human has this, and every human being has both. We all do things we feel like instead of things that we want. And we all have good days when we do what we want rather than what we feel like. We all make effort and choose against comfort, and sometimes we just choose comfort over effort. And we do that. That's we're human beings. We have free will. We go both ways. But our heritage, Jewish philosophy, that comes to teach us that meaningful life is connected to effort. It's connected to depth. It's connected to seeking the meaning. And on the deepest level, it's connected to something called tikkun olam, fixing the world, tikkun olam, which is such a well-known concept. But it's really the basis of what, from one way of looking at it, as to what Judaism is really trying to accomplish, what our heritage is really trying to accomplish. And you can seek tikkun olam to fix the world, and this is the way that I find that the word is used a lot nowadays. But what they're really talking about is within the feeling, comfort, superficiality concept. It's not talking about creating a completely different world, a world of kind of like a perfect world. And the concept of tikkun olam in Jewish philosophy is really the idea that every human being has access to everything that they need to maximize their potential in this world. And often tikkun olam is taken to mean more things like give people some rights or make sure this one has food. And that's true. Those things are amazing things, and we have to do those things. But what happens is that you tend to kind of agree with the overarching philosophy of the society that you're living in. And let's help some poor people, agreeing with the philosophy of the society that we're living in. And let's make sure that, this ethnic group has its rights, or this minority has its rights. And those things are great things, they're important things. But what about the deeper challenge, the deeper problems of the world? That's really where Tikkun Olam is focused. And in the same way that you can look at your thinking and feel that circumstances control your thinking, or you could come to a realization, hang on a second, I can think differently. I have control over my thinking and I'll experience a different reality. So too, we as human beings, we as Jewish people, the Jewish philosophy, the Judeo-Christian ethic was never about accepting reality as concrete and I'll do my nice thing inside. Rather, it's really about being revolutionary. It's really about reaching for the sky. It's really about trying to figure out what is truth and what is reality and how can I live my life in the most maximally meaningful. And that's really challenging for us. But the alternative, which is to live a more superficial life, superficial is a nasty word. I don't mean it in a critical way, but just a more superficial way, in a more comfort-based way, making less effort, feeling less connected to our bodies, to our spirits, to our souls, to our intellect, right? That leads a person down the path towards a more anxious experience of life because one feels so closed in. It seems like you feel closed in by what's going on around you, but the most fundamentally anxious experience that a person can have is when they're really feeling that they're not using their potential. And it's using the potential that I really wanted to focus on today because that's Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam is the creation of a world, creation of an environment, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your extended family, whether it's in your community, whether it's in your society, your nation, the world on the highest level, where every human being has everything that they need to truly accomplish their potential. And that's the ultimate meaning for any human being. So when you think to yourself, well, Passover is coming, Pesach is coming, and we sing about freedom and the matzot, and the Jewish people leave Egypt and they go from being slaves to being free. The metaphor here is really connected to the ideas that we're talking about. It's not just freedom from a bad job. Well, that's really important. If we've ever had a bad job, there's nothing like a little freedom from a bad job, right? Or freedom from poverty. Again, if you ever experience any type of financial food insecurity, there's nothing like freedom from that. Right? 100%, we've got to do that. But really, what we're really talking about with Passover and all of this stuff is the freedom to truly be who I'm supposed to be. To truly be who I'm supposed to be. And our marriages, our relationships, our jobs, our friendships, everything that we have in our life is supposed to be designed to help us accomplish that. And to the extent that those things don't, we have to fix them. And to the extent that we can't fix them or we just can't get to it, whatever it is, we're going to feel a lack of human potential. And that's just crippling and horrible. So as we sit in our houses right now, and it's just kind of quiet, and there's I'm really busy. I don't know about you guys. I've been really, really busy. But has anyone here, maybe you can just send me a couple of comments, has anyone here found that they've been able to implement something a little bit more like what they want over what they've been feeling, or a little more depth in terms of, or a little more meaningful, or any of the other lessons that have been spoken about from any of the other sessions? If people are comfortable just typing in, even just a yes or a no, have people had a chance to really kind of connect to themselves during this time? It's a massive opportunity. It's the whole opportunity of this thing, of this time, of this crazy time. So please, in the comments, take a second to write something. Have you had a chance to really think? I was sitting with my family on Shabbat or Friday night, and a couple of my older children just said, look, and this is the way I understood what they said. Maybe they say, no, but that's not what we meant at all. But the way I related to what they were saying was, we've had a good couple of weeks, 3 weeks inside, and we've slept too late a couple of times, and we've watched too much Netflix a couple of times, and we've done nothing for a couple of days a couple of times, and we've done this and we've done that. And at a certain point, it's like, okay, we're calm and we're chilled. And I would really like right now to try and figure out how to grow from this experience. Like we mentioned in the last session, Jewish consciousness says when something crazy happens to the world, you have to make a change. Otherwise, you're like a cruel person. You have to respond. You have to learn to respond to the world and make the internal changes that are really necessary. um, during those, during those weird situations, So we have one comment over here, which is cool. Someone said like, someone has said, this is like an effort versus comfort idea. When I set an alarm to come to an exercise class or to another class, it doesn't matter if I'm not feeling like it in the moment. I do the class anyway because I know they're good for me and I'll thank myself afterwards. That's a great example of effort versus comfort. And you always feel better afterwards, right? You always feel better afterwards. That's the type of thing that's really the essence of Tikkun Olam. Because if we're always choosing comfort and we're always choosing superficiality in our lives, we can't get upset at other human beings and other societies when they do dumb things, when they choose comfort over effort. I can't do the things that to me create conflict, but I expect everyone else in the world to just be able to do the things that with which they have conflict, to not be bothered by those things. It doesn't work like that. No one works like that. We have to lead by our own example, right? You can't ask everybody else to be making an effort and being deep and not looking at the world in a superficial way in the areas that bother you, right? When you, of course, are totally able to choose comfort and totally be superficial and totally be selfish, right, in the areas that you find hard. It doesn't work that way, right? The world doesn't work that way. The world isn't changed that way. So when we get to a time of Passover, this time of Pesach, it's Zman Cherutenu, it's the time of freedom. The real freedom comes not by being rid of the people who are holding you back or the thoughts that are giving you, nothing's doing anything to you. It's about realizing in the deepest place that I am the master of my own destiny. Yeah, we work with Hashem, we work with the higher power, we work with God, of course. Yeah, but the real freedom is to truly become who we're supposed to be. And in the world, that privilege, that's called Tikkun Olam. That's called Tikkun Olam, right? And that's really what we're aiming for right now in this time period. I personally believe it's a big part of what we're being called to over here during this crazy time, because there's so much change. There's just so much. Hi, how you doing? I'm sorry, guys. I just dropped for a second there. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Sorry about that. My internet just dropped. I don't know what that was. Just before Ilana comes in, I just want to encourage everybody to take a little bit of a look at this effort versus comfort. Okay, to take a little bit of a look at this depth versus superficiality. To take a little bit of a look at this idea of being in control of my thoughts or choosing the thoughts that I go with versus it just happens to me and there's nothing I can do about it. And to think about the concept of freedom. And to think about the concept of Tikkun Olam, and to think about the concept of your own potential. And most of us are living in groups right now. Many of us are living alone. But at least within the groups that we're in, be in an environment where try to be in a space where you're maximizing your own potential, where you're living according to your potential, where if something comes up that you could really do something for someone, you could really help someone, yeah, just go for it. Go for it. Live your potential. Do what you want, not what you feel like. Go with the effort, not with the comfort, if that makes any sense. And it's just a huge part of what Jewish spirituality is about, and that's what Tikkun Olam is about, what Passover is about. And apply that in your micro environments right now, and we'll start to see a really amazing change. I'm pretty confident about that. So I'm going to hand over to Ilana now, and I look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday. Tuesday will be slightly earlier. We've got you'll probably have to register again. We've got your emails. We'll be in touch. But looking forward. 1 second. Ilana, are you ready? You use my phone? Okay, that's fine.
Hello. All right. I'm not going to ask you how you all are because I know that you're all fine because everybody else found out already. Hoping that you're still fine. We're going to go into the discussion of the difference between lust and chemistry. Okay, let's do something strange. Let's talk about animals. Okay, let's talk about animals. So how do animals date? So animals don't really date, they sort of mate. What they do is they don't really do the I, because they share the value of survival, so they know that's fine. This is in their should have resume, right? And when it comes to E, they sort of tend to date amongst themselves. You know, the emotional reality of monkeys might be that they're cheeky, ants might be hardworking, you know, lions might be territorial, like whatever. And then what's important is that they're attracted to each other. So they, well, having completed I and E, they now go into the realm of P. And what they then do to make sure P works that well is that they walk around naked, obviously, and they put out their natural smells, and they attract, you know, mates, and they build families, and that's it. So, so the problem with animal mating, albeit it's very true to IEP in its own funny kind of way, is that when we replicate it, it doesn't work for us as people. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Obviously, we don't walk around, we do not walk around, you know, without any clothes on, putting out our natural smells. Otherwise, you wouldn't get very far in dating at all. But to some degree, we've come to replicate something similar but different. We skip I, we skip E, and we go straight to P. But of course, we have to make sure that P works for us because we're more sophisticated. So what do? Instead of walking around as honest and as raw as animals do, we dress up, and very often when we dress up, it's quite misleading, okay? Maybe people wear heels that make them look taller, or maybe people wear clothing that makes them look thinner, or maybe people wear accentuation clothing, or men might wear padded shoulders that make them look stronger, or, you know, we do all sorts of misleading dress up. And we certainly wouldn't dream of putting out our own smells, because that's just like not acceptable. So we go to a shop and we buy a smell, right? I know there was this advert when I was a kid. It was like this gorgeous woman who you could tell smelled amazing because the way her hair bobbed. Okay, whatever. And she was walking down the street, and a man like washed her and goes quickly to buy a bouquet and catches up with her and gives it to her. And it says, you know, if a man you've never met before suddenly gives you flowers, that's impulse. And I remember thinking, like, but what happens if everybody sees the advert and like everybody wears impulse, and this poor guy's gonna have this bouquet of flowers, and there'll be millions of people with the same smell that they bought because you advertised it. Like, what's the poor guy gonna do then, you know? So like, we buy the smells at the shop. Oh, that man smells divine. That woman smells gorgeous. No, she doesn't. She's bought something from a manufacturer that you could also buy if you wanted to. That made her smell good. And then we go into traditionally places to date where, you know, you can't really discuss your values because you can't even hear each other talk, and often you can't even see each other. And it's sort of like, let's just see if we can draw people to us in these environments, which is like the cheat mate experience, you know, without any of the truth. And then we'll work out the kinks later. But of course, they're not really kinks. There are human complexities. Our values and our emotions are not our kinks. There are human complexities. And surprise, surprise, this form of dating that's really replicated on mating, but with cheating, okay? Cheat mating, you know, doesn't work. Surprise, surprise. Like within a few weeks or months, people get disappointed and they fall in love. And so if we put this whole story in the context of IEP, what's really happened is we've just dropped everything, gone straight to P. And we've just gone straight to the physical. And yes, if we were physical only, then that would probably work. But we're not, there's much more to us. And it's very disappointing being in a relationship with someone where physically you're very drawn to them and you find out that you have nothing in common, no future ideas in common, no ideals, no values. You couldn't possibly, you know, raise children the same way. In fact, one of you wants to have and the other one doesn't want to have, and never mind the religion. And we end up in situations where we've limited our self-definition to something much less complex than we are, which is just our bodies. And that is going to really cause problems unless you happen to fluke it and find out everything else happens to fall into place. But that's not, it's not a good system, it's mystical, it's not going to work out that way. So what we're trying to do here is we're not trying to underestimate the importance of physical connection. My goodness, it's so crucial for a couple to really have a strong natural physical connection. But what we're saying is we're going to run P within the context of I, E, and P. And what this means is as follows. If you have a relationship that is purely physical, but as the relationship builds, you find out that you have less and less connection. What will generally happen is that whilst there might be a lot of fireworks and a lot of, you know, physical interest at the beginning, you might find, funnily enough, that the less you connect to this person, the less you respect the person, the less you feel understood by this person, the less you understand this person, because the physical is functioning completely by itself, it's starting to diminish, it's starting to not be enough. However, on the contrary, if the relationship is an I&E relationship, emotional and intellectual also, what will happen is the more you get to spend time with a person, the more long-lasting physical is. And you know, we've all met those people that look so gorgeous when we met them. They're so beautiful and stunning, and then they started talking, and it was just downhill from there, right? And then we've got other people that we didn't think much of, but we found them more and more and more attractive. So we have to recognize that physical attraction really is a thing, but chemistry is based not just on the two bodies. It's not just a mating experience. It's based on connection that runs deeper than just the bodies, even though it can express itself through the physical connection, meaning once I feel such a connection to you, it's very natural that I want to express it with my body, but it's not just based on a body connection, it's based on something much deeper. And the deeper the connection flows, the more feeling of deep, long-lasting connection that the couple will find. So for the sake of our conversation over here, what we're going to say very simply is lust is what happens when the P is taken completely out of context, and the only thing that's bonding this couple is, you know, how much they were able to attract each other and maintain that attraction. Whereas chemistry is going to be the physical aspect, perhaps, and sometimes even, you know, the other aspects to that, of a complex connection that runs much deeper than just physical. It runs also through other levels of connection, emotional connection, or humor, or understanding, or shared values, or respect, all those things. The P that comes on the basis of an IE foundation, that's real connection, and that is what we mean by chemistry, the kind of connection that the more you get to know the person, the more the relationship builds, the more the intensity of the connection feels, as opposed to when, you know, the more you get to know them, the more distinct the physical connection was from any other connection. By itself, it just doesn't really want to stand alone. If it's going to be long lasting, it needs to come in the context of we are connected as people and we express this physically, not we are connected physically instead of being connected as people. So unfortunately, everybody, we are, well, our animal system is just too complex. We cannot do P alone, and we cannot afford to be mating instead of dating, or copying the mating prism instead of the dating one. We need to make sure that on all the different levels of our being, there is connection. And again, the litmus test is, if the more I get to know you, the more connected I feel to you, and the more attracted I feel to you, then we have good old-fashioned healthy chemistry. And if the more I get to know you, the less appealing you become to me, then that is probably lust. So I hope that's a helpful guide. What we will also talk about at some point, probably in the future, where we have a little bit more time, we'll probably also talk, maybe we'll just start a conversation quickly now, but talk about, you know, instant attraction, when people say instant attraction. And there again, there's two possibilities. One is that the attraction is purely physical, and that might well fade. And sometimes what can happen is actually people think it might be a physical attraction because they're so pulled to the other person, but what they'll discover is that when they look back on it, that immediate connection wasn't physical. It was almost like an instinctive connection, that there is more going on here. It's just that they haven't yet explored it. And when people experience that, I say to them, that's great and that's wonderful, but you're not going to know until you have a little bit more hindsight whether that is a deep, instant, almost spiritual connection, or whether that is just a physical connection that's tricking you. And the way to do that is exactly the same as anybody else, which is to do the work of going through the different aspects of yourself and seeing if the connections are there and seeing if the values are there. And if everything fits beautifully, you'll be able to say, wow, I really built this relationship based on who we are, and we really did our due diligence in terms of making sure we were connected. And I knew the moment that I saw him, or I knew the moment that I saw her, that level of knowledge, and that whole like sense of people just knowing is something that we have to have a whole conversation about, which we will get to all in good time. But very often, if they had that instant connection And then as they get to know each other, it's just not really based on anything real because the rest of the relationship doesn't go in that direction. Then that immediate first connection, initial connection, will actually wither away. So if that connection happens immediately, yes, respect it, but don't let it get in the way of the due diligence of making sure that there are other forms of connection, and let your due diligence be able to prove you right if after having really done the work and gotten to know each other, that spark turns into a flame. But sometimes that spark isn't going to turn into flame. It's just an immediate something that did not really reflect who the person was until either of you, did more work on finding out who the other person really was. And that's okay. That's okay. We are taking responsibility for making good decisions. Okay. So sometimes we'll have good initial experiences and sometimes not. And again, sometimes we'll meet people and it wouldn't even cross our minds that there's any magic going to happen. And as the relationship builds, the magic builds too. And that doesn't count any less than people who knew from the very beginning. So whatever happens, we're going to do our due diligence, and we're going to, as much as we can, keep an eye out on this physical connection. And again, see if it's there stronger and stronger as I get to know the person more and more. Then it's on a build. And if it's diminishing the more I get to know the person, then that's what you need to know about it. Because you want to be in a situation where the connection is so deep, so not just the physical, that you can spend 50 years with that person or 80 years with that person, and as the physical attraction naturally reduces itself, the connection is still there because the connection was so much deeper than just lust. So I hope that clarifies things a little bit for people. Again, feel free if you want to ask any questions privately. ilanacalland@gmail.com. Happy to take any questions privately. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the session. Bye. Jamie, are you
Okay, hi everyone, how are you?
Over to Avadia. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks Jamie. I apologize for the fortunate coincidence that me and Jamie are wearing very similar shirts today. It was totally unplanned, but why not? So what I want to talk about today, I want to do a bit of a practical thing I want to share with you. And then we're going to try and put it into practice. So I'm going to try and squeeze it into the time. I apologize that I might go a minute or two over, but let's try. So what I want to do is share with you a way of calming our minds through the day, making sure that we get more done in the day, we get more out of the day, but that we spend less energy doing it. And this is going to be based on a system of pre-day journaling and post-day journaling. So I'm going to share with you some screenshots of the system of how I do it. And it ends with a bit of meditation, a bit of breathing that makes the journaling effective and brings it into the day. So here's the thing, research has shown, and I'm sure there's other research that's shown otherwise, but the layman's research that I've seen shows that intense mental effort uses about 20% or a fifth of the calories, meaning an objective measure of energy, of hard physical work. Meaning really, really focusing on thinking. Your brain alone, that one small part of our body, can use 20% of the energy that it would use if we were carrying heavy boxes around for a living. Which means that just sitting and thinking can be, if we do a lot of it, just as much work as actually being a physical laborer. So there really is a lot of work done there and a lot of energy burnt there, which would have, surprised my dad, showed him that I am doing some hard work after all. So the more efficiently we manage our thoughts and we manage the way we process information, the easier our day can become. So I want to show you a system that I use here. I'm going to share my screen. And obviously this system is not going to be the ideal for everyone, but this is a system I developed through trial and error over the last couple of years. And it's something that if you do choose to use, I'm happy to send you more information on it, but you would tweak it to make it the way you want it. So the purpose of this, like I call it a journal, but it's not the same as a traditional journal, because traditionally speaking, the purpose of a journal is for you to have something that you refer back to in days and months and weeks and years to come, and you remember the good memories. That's not really the purpose of this, but it will do that as well. The real purpose of this is making your day easier, making your day more effective, and clearing your mind. So how we do it is I start the day with, I've got a blank notebook. This is actually it here, right? So what you're seeing is tomorrow's page, basically, just as a sample. And I've got 6 pieces of information that either tonight or tomorrow morning I will put in. Now, let me stress, it's going to take me about between 5 and 15 minutes to fill this in. The more often you do it, the quicker it becomes to do it. And it saves me loads and loads and loads of time, and more importantly, loads of energy through the day. So I'm going to walk you through it, and it ends with filling it in is just one part. There's the part we do in the morning. There's the writing and the thinking that we do in the morning. Then there's the meditation that accompanies it, which I'm going to show you a bit of in the time we have. And then there's the end day or the post-day reflection. So I'll show you what I've basically got here. So I've written the date, the day, and you start off with intention. Intention means, what do you plan to get out of the day? So I'm actually gonna, I'll show you what the 6 things are, and then I'll show you a bit more information. You've got intention, schedule, post-day reflection, I put on one side of the page, and on the other side, I put reminders and tasks, agenda, and make progress. And I'll show you what each of these things mean. The intention of the day means, what is the most important thing that I need to get out of the day, that I need to put into the day and get out of the day, right? What is the day really all about? And what are the attributes that I need to try and show more of and make sure I don't forget during the day? So for example, it could be through the day, be more patient, be more loving, show gratitude. It could be whatever it is for you. Have more self-control, be less lazy, be more conscious of relationships, take time to breathe more, make sure you're doing what you want to do, not what you feel like doing, all of these things. So that's quite a philosophical part, but that's going to be the most important thing to put in first. The next thing we have is the schedule. The schedule goes hour to hour or 20-minute sessions or half hour, whatever, but it's where you write in the things you're going to be doing today, the meetings you have, the time you're going to be spending traveling, the tasks you have to do, and what time you're allocating to them. So there are going to be some things in your schedule that are hard schedule items. That means when they happen, it's really out of your control, but you know when it's going to be. For example, meetings and things like that. And then there are things you need to put in your schedule that are things you want to get done or hope to get done through the day that are soft, meaning you choose when they happen, but generally they won't happen unless you schedule a time for them and make them hard. So I'd write in my whole schedule. Then we'll go over here to reminders and tasks. Reminders and tasks are really important. We've all got a to-do list. The purpose of this to-do list is not just about getting the things done, it's about taking them out of our mind. When there's things going around in our minds that we have to remember to do, that causes anxiety because we're worried we might forget them, and it's an energy drain. Just like the way a computer works, the more functions are like, the more short-term memory is being held, the more the battery gets drained. Once we write them down, we write a list of those things that we need to do, that we need to get done today, or hope we get done today. Then there's going to be the agenda. The agenda is a broad view of what the day is all about. For example, the agenda might be, for me today, make a significant bit of progress on studying for a course that I'm in, make sure this Justifi Zoom session works out well, and make sure I get the house clean for Pesach to an extent, and do it all with a smile. And then at the bottom, I've got make progress. Make progress are the things that I will not finish today, and I will probably never finish, but I need to make sure I at least touch these things today. So these are going to be things, and you're going to have progress points that you come back to every day, and progress things you come back to every week. They're things that you will never finish, but you need to keep them in your mind. So for example, practicing the musical instrument you're playing, doing a bit of exercise, working on a course, doing a bit of learning, doing a bit of breathing, meditation. These are things you won't finish, but you want to make sure you come back to them today. And then the second most important part of the day is post-day reflection. The two most important are the intention and then post-day reflection. Post-day reflection is about, at the end of the day, looking back at what you intended to do with the day and what actually happened. And there's no judgment. There's no, oh, I had certain aims and goals that I had to do. I had to tick off certain things and I didn't do them. That's bad. Oh, I've got certain things, you know, I ticked off 70% of my to-do list. That's good. No, it's about just looking back and without any judgment on ourselves, thinking about how the day went. Counting blessings is a large part of it, celebrating the accomplishments, and most importantly, reviewing what we've learned. What was the learning of the day? It might be things like, you know, I set myself too much. I set my sights too high. I tried to cram in too much of the day and that didn't work. It may be, turns out people don't like it when I make sarcastic jokes at their expense. Could be whatever it is. And then it's adjust focus, meaning what do I need to do differently tomorrow to make tomorrow an even better day? So that's what we do at the beginning of the day, and then post-day reflection is what we do at the end. However, I want to focus on intention. When we set the intention for the day, what I've got over here, for example, be patient, be loving, show gratitude, that's where meditation comes in. So what I'd always do is, after setting the intention for the day, do at least a 3 or 4 minute meditation, which we're going to do together now. So in this example day, I've put in 3 that I end up putting in most days, but they're also 3 that I think are pretty universal. They're not the only 3, and they're not my 3 every day. But then what we need to do is take a couple of minutes before the day to make them real. And this is going to be very, very simple meditation. So how are we going to do this? We're going to take one of them. So for example, I'm going to take the middle one here, be loving. And what we need to do is we need to think about what that looks like from the outside. As we go through our day, we see everything from within us, we're looking outwards. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, how do I look to others? How do others experience me? So the trick for this, and this is going to take time to build up, but every minute we do it helps, is to close our eyes for a minute and just imagine we're looking at ourselves from the outside. And we're looking at the day as we expect it to go, but we're seeing from outside. Someone is following us around, a fly on the wall, a reality TV documentary, for example, or just our friends and family. What are they going to see? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to breathe in as I imagine myself, not imagine, as I visualize myself living this value to the maximum. How does it look to other people? How does it look from outside if I go through the day thinking about the schedule that I've got in front of me and the challenges I've got in front of me and the agenda and the to-do list? Let me visualize myself doing that, exuding the goal of be loving. Let me visualize that happening and just take a minute. So I'm going to breathe in really, really slowly, visualizing myself being totally loving. Doing my stuff, cleaning for Pesach, going to the shops, making a few phone calls, a business meeting or 2, but with absolute lovingness. So we're going to try and do that together just for a minute. So we just breathe it in. Imagine yourself, see yourself from the outside, living that value of just loving, doing everything you do with absolute love for the other people around you. So you breathe it in, you see it, you take pleasure in it, and then you just breathe out. And I do this about 4 or 5 times. It's just a matter of breathing in. So let's all take a minute to do this. I know we're exactly on time now, right? So just a minute. So imagine yourself, visualize yourself, see yourself from the outside, and breathe in really, really slowly. Personally, I do a Tai Chi breathing technique, which is as I breathe in, I lift my arms up, right? Sort of to chest level. And as I breathe out, I turn my hands down so my palms are facing downwards. And try and be completely relaxed. No expectations of myself as I breathe out. As we breathe in, palms upwards to the heavens, visualize that lovingness. And turn the palms down and breathe out and just relax with no expectations. And do that just a few times. So any questions on that, please feel free to email me, Vadia@justifi.org. I'm happy to send you more information on this or to discuss this in person. But thank you all so much, and everyone please have a wonderful day.
Thank you everyone for joining us. It's been so exciting. We're trying to spread the word as much as possible. We've had such wonderful feedback from people. We're really trying to spread the word as much as possible. So feel free, if you have any ideas about how to connect us up into other networks so that other people can just kind of come in and dip into this whenever they feel like it. We would really love that and appreciate it. And I just want to thank you, even though, like I say, every day is Sunday at the moment. It's still Sunday and people got up early and we appreciate it. It's nice to see you all. And on Tuesday, we're going to be doing the back to the 8 o'clock session. It'll be our last session probably for Passover. It could be that during the middle of Passover we'll do a session or two. We'll send you information on that. But as for now, Tuesday will be the last session before Passover. We'll let you know when the next one is. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to all of the amazing speakers. Thank you to all of you guys. And have a relaxed, beautiful, connected, effort, depth, meaning, connected day, and lots of love.